Vietnam War. Our contributions were done by Cooper. He did section 1 and 2. Shelley did section 3 and 7. Danny did 4 and 5. And Gordon did 6. Narrations are by Gordon and Dan.
Why the U.S. went to the Vietnam War. The U.S. went to war with Vietnam to attempt to prevent the spread of communism. Economic interests, international fears, political strategies, and other major roles with China.
The Battle of La Drang Valley. This war took place in the southern part of Vietnam. Both sides claimed to be victorious, but they both had different methods. The U.S. used the air attack method, and the Vietnamese used the ground.
Battle of Khe Sanh. The battle was long and bloody, a 77-day battle that came to an end by the U.S. airlifting the U.S. soldiers out of the base and back to northern Vietnam. This was the first time the U.S. had given up their ground to the Vietnamese.
Battle of Hamburger Hill. This 10-day battle was fought on Hill 937. The U.S. was basically fighting against themselves because of the terrible conditions they were in. There was no strategy that could be used on the hill because of its nature.
Timeline. In June 1st, 1954, the Ceylon military mission launched on South Vietnam. In July 21st, 1954, Geneva Accords divided Vietnam. In November 2nd, 1963, Ngo Dinh Diem was assassinated. In August 5th, 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson submitted the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, and it is approved. In March 1st, 1966, a program for the pacification and long-term development of Vietnam is published. In January 30th, 1968, Northern Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces began an offense. In February 27th, 1968, news anchor Walter Cronkite predicts war will end in a stalemate. In March 16th, 1968, mass shooting and killing at My Lai Village. On November 15th, 1969, U.S. citizens protest American involvement. May 4th, 1970, the Ohio National Guard opens fires on Kent State University students. January 27th, 1973, all parties agreed to end war peacefully. March 29th, 1973, last U.S. military unit leaves Vietnam. And in April 29th, 1975, South Vietnam surrenders to the North.
Casualties in the war. There were 9,000 accidents. There were around 1,000 declared dead. 5,000 died of wounds. 230 died from homicide. Almost 1,000 died from illness. 40,000 were killed in action. Many were presumed dead. Presumed dead total ended up being 91 that were not recovered. 360 were self-inflicted death, and the total record was 58,000.
On July 2nd, 1976, North and South Vietnam merged to form the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. At the time, there was speculation that Southern citizens would be involved in a massacre, but there was, in fact, no mass executions. However, they were sent to re-education camps where many endured torture, starvation, and disease while being forced to perform hard labor. It is believed 443,360 people had to register for a period in the re-education camps. Some were released after a few days, while others remained for many years. Vietnam launched a counterattack against Cambodia to take back the islands on the belief they had been responsible for the disappearance of 500 Vietnamese natives on Tao Chu. In response, China invaded Vietnam in 1979. They fought a border war known as the Sino-Vietnamese War from 1978 to 1979.
There were many effects on the economy after the war. A lot of companies ended up struggling during the war and after the war because their factories were used to make supplies for the armies, and this was taking place of them making consumer goods that would make them a profit. Although many people did not like the war, especially because we lost, it was helpful to us and our treaties with other countries. It showed our true dedication to our allies and showed that we will stand and fight even if we have no business in the war. The majority of the people did not like the war. They believed that we should have stayed out of it, and this naturally brought bad attitudes about the war to all people. This also led to our veterans coming home, not being treated fair, not being showed respect, and not getting the retirement that they were promised.
Vietnam War has been known as both the Second Indonesia War and the American War in Vietnam. Here's a Forrest Gump quote. "Bubba was my best good friend, and even I know that ain't something you can find just around the corner. Bubba was going to be a shrimp and boat captain, but instead he died right there by that river in Vietnam."
That's all.